Kobbie Mainoo is the talk of the town. If by town you mean Premier League, and by Premier League you mean fans of Manchester United. Because he had an outstanding debut against Everton and now everyone's very, very excited. Lots of hype about Kobbie Mainoo. Well, I'm going to show you why I think Kobbie Mainoo is worth the hype and why he might be exactly what Manchester United need. I'm going to show you why on a graph. Now this graph has lots of lovely colours and circles. Mainoo is in the middle of absolutely everything. He's essential in the build-up, he's a direct link from goalkeeper to the midfield, and he's also in dialogue with all the players around him as the central pivot player. He is the most influential player in this part of the pitch. Now this kind of pivot player is really important to what Ten Hag wants to do, particularly in build-up, because of course what Ten Hag wants to do is build up in a 3-2 shape. So this 4 will become a 3, the centre-backs will go across, and normally Dalot or Wan-Bissaka comes across to form a 3, and then you'll get maybe Shaw comes inside here, or he'll overlap, and then someone will drop in beside. So you might get Mainoo and McTominay in here, or Casemiro, whoever's in here. So you get this 3-2 shape, so you get nice passing angles between all these guys here. But of course, the profile of player in these positions is absolutely essential. So if you have McTominay, for example, now McTominay can be accused sometimes of hiding, but what I think he does actually is try and pull players out of the way, because his technical ability isn't as good as some other players. So in this position here, rather than trying to receive in the half-turn and lose the ball in a dangerous area, he will try and drag a midfielder out of the way, so someone like Højlund can drop in, so that ball can be played through. He's trying to pull players out of position, if that is what he's doing, I don't know, because I'm not Scott McTominay. Lots of players can play in a 2-man pivot midfield, but not all of them are able to take the ball in the half-turn and pass forwards, certainly not under pressure. Because when you have someone like McTominay, we know drags players out of position, so maybe the pass opens up forward. What Mainoo does is drops into the most dangerous part here, actively inviting pressure onto himself. Because if you drop here, maybe these 2 players are blocking this pass through the middle, they got someone tight to him. He'll do this on purpose so he can draw players out. But because he's really confident and he's got high technical ability, he will trust himself to take the touch, a really dangerous touch in this sort of position here, which draws people even closer, which then takes them out of the game. So when he plays the pass into someone like McTominay or whoever's dropped in next to him, it means that you've taken out 3 players rather than just 2. And that then obviously frees up this player to burst into space, or it allows the pass to go forward into someone higher up the pitch. But it's not just in this exact position. He moves from side to side to complete the passing patterns. And that's the really impressive part, is that he seems to read what teammates are doing and reads the flow of the game, but then always passes forwards. And you can see his passes here in this lovely passing map. Now, not all of these are going forward, sure enough, so it's kind of going against what I'm saying, but on the pitch, these look like they're going forward, and often what they are is the most sensible pass to complete a pattern or help a pattern develop while there's loads of pressure around him, which then helps United go up the pitch. So that's what he's kind of doing with these sort of passes. And of course, when he gets into dangerous areas, he is playing these forward passes that help him go forward just from there. And if you don't believe me, you should believe Roy Keane, who was very impressed with how Mainoo played against Everton, particularly in his choice of passing going forward. And in fact, there's a story about Roy Keane talking about how important this is to Rio Ferdinand. Rio Ferdinand once said, "One of my first training sessions, I got the ball, passed it to Gary Neville, who was on my team. In a normal game, that was a great ball. Pass to your teammate, go up the pitch." And then Keane turned around and just started going, "Pass it forward, take risks. You're not at Leeds or West Ham now, you're at Man United." A flawless Roy Keane impression there. And what you'll get from Kobbie Mainoo are lots and lots of forward risky passes in dangerous situations, because he's used to doing it from a more advanced position. In the youth academy, often rather than playing as part of the double pivot, he'd play as more of an advanced player, so behind the forward or an attacking midfielder or striker next to the wingers. So he can play in these really difficult pockets. He's used to playing under pressure in tight areas, which is really important, especially in build-up. Now it's more risky in build-up over here, but great players are able to do this, and Mainoo's already showing that he can do that at 18 years old. Because it's all about completing the passing patterns of your teammates. And that's something he did very well against Everton, as this graphic will show you. Here he is in the middle, taking lots of touches, but he's going from side to side. And these are often touches that are helping complete passing triangles and pyramids and whatever you want to call them. Pyramids? Sure, that's fine. He's completing all those things by moving from side to side on the pitch. A bit like a metronome, which is probably exactly what we should be calling him. He's like the metronome of United in this game. Something they've lacked for a long time. Because you see, being able to set the tempo of how the team is playing is a really, really difficult skill and a very important one to have. Only a few players are able to control and manipulate time. But it's not as simple as Mainoo can make the game go fast and make game go slow. It's that Mainoo is able to move in and out of space and time, so that when they're playing a short rondo, he can be the one who's playing the short bounce pass to get the ball forward. Or say they're really under pressure and a team's pushing them, he might just take the extra touch and slow it down. But what Mainoo does in one movement often is he'll receive the ball under pressure and he'll just wait until the player draws towards him, and then he'll like drop a shoulder or something, or just slow and burn time. So this player doesn't really know what to do. Because if your team's constantly playing at a set tempo, you know, like that all the way through, then everyone else can sort of tune into that frequency and work out what's likely to happen next. For example, if you are Scott McTominay and then you're playing, you know, on the pitch, you might be like this. That's Scott McTominay's song. Like that all the time. And everyone knows what's going to happen next. But if you are Kobbie Mainoo, maybe it's more like... It might change a bit. Basically, it helps create uncertainty and unpredictability, just like I did. And you know a player who used to do this really well for Man United? Michael Carrick, a really underrated player who used to sit at the base of midfield as part of a two, but he would be the one who can help either set the passing tempo by being in the right place at the right time, drawing pressure away, trusting his technical ability, knowing where to be and when, and also playing those risky forward passes. That's what you want from this player here. If you're receiving the ball and able to take it on the half term and then go backwards, or play it safe and then they have to go backwards, that's not really any use for a team like Man United because it just encourages the opposition to push ever further up. You get squeezed and then eventually your goalkeeper has got to launch it and you lose possession. If you've got a player who's confident in their ability and always shows for it, that's hugely important and crucial. I'm buying time while I find the ball. Here it is, and then Mainoo does the right thing, and he's only 18! Now, Carrick was United's 6th most expensive player of all time when they signed him for about, I think it's a combined £18 million roughly back in the day. But these players tend to be quite underrated, and so you think that's an awful lot of money for that sort of player. But think how much defensive players are now. Declan Rice cost about £100 and something million. Then you got Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia to Chelsea, both huge amounts of money for players who don't do an awful lot that you really see. You don't notice it. It's not like they're getting goals and assists, things like that. But those quiet, unappreciated things are really, really important. Sergio Busquets is probably still underrated. Now, I'm not saying for one second that Mainoo is definitely as good as them, or that he has the same ceiling. But what we've seen already are things that you see often in certain players. You can tell that they're definitely good. He's got the confidence, the ability, and the composure, and just the level headed you needed to be able to play in these certain situations. And it really helps that he's a Man United Youth Academy player, because what United are doing cleverly behind the scenes, I think, is trying to build and develop a team for the future. They're buying big stars now like Casemiro, but Casemiro is 31 years old, he's won 5 Champions Leagues. He's pretty much, he's not done, but you know, he's on the way out maybe. Real Madrid sold him for a reason. They sold him because the money they got helped them buy their whole new midfield. And Real Madrid's structure over the last few years when they won 5 Champions Leagues over about a 7-year period was that they had players in place, they sold a couple, brought in a couple new ones, but they always had a core group of players who had been through the Champions League winning years so that you could spread that club knowledge throughout, help train players to know what standards are and how to get to those levels, and therefore you end up with a team who wins 5 Champions Leagues. Now United have been bringing back players like Johnny Evans. Sounds like a weird transfer. He's a Man United youth player. Tom Heaton used to play for Man United back in the day. In fact, Man United have the most number of former academy players in their team right now. They've got 8. Can you name them all? Let's play a game. Here comes the music. In at number 1, it's Tom Heaton. No points, just told you him. It was a secret one. You probably wouldn't have got that one. Then there's Johnny Evans. He's come back. He knows how the club works. That's what you want. Then, of course, we've got Marcus Rashford, Scott McTominay, Alejandro Garnacho, Hannibal, the midfielder. He's really good. And then you've got Kobbie Mainoo, of course, we're talking about here today. And then there's one other youth player called Shola Shoretire, who big things are expected of also, but not quite in the same level as Kobbie Mainoo. Oh wow, what a great quiz. Thanks for saying that. Now, the point being that Mainoo is probably exactly what Man United need right now. A player who doesn't do anything too elaborate, is really simple, but does it really, really well. You can trust him in possession, you can trust him in build-up, he can do all the things that you need in those essential parts of the pitch to stop getting pressed so high, get you out of dangerous situations, and make use of your more attacking forward players. A really clever player whose A-team will keep developing. You can trust him with the older players to bring him through and get the standard you need to start winning things as a Man United player. Am I going too big on the hype? I say no. But you can tell me what you think of Kobbie Mainoo in the comments below and drive engagement on the video. Thank you, goodbye.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. With the latest transfer news and insight on every Premier League football story that matters, theathletic.com puts you inside football. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.